Obviously, this is a response to Ms. Worthy, her decision not to charge. This is a response to Ms. Worthy's decision not to charge in this matter. Obviously, we're very disappointed in relationship to that, and we will remember it. People in the city are asking about it. This is not like the old days where we're just going to let it move and we forget about it. I mean, there are lives involved in this situation, and I'll say it now. I'll say it straight up, and they can corroborate it. That situation about the hammer, that's a lie. That's an absolute lie. And I'll make it stronger than that. It's a damn lie, because it didn't happen the way they said. And so within the context of that, we're going to do what we have to do in terms of seeking justice in this case. Mr. Mitchell represents the family, and this is the Kellom family, and they can speak to more of it.
Well, what the problem is, and that's the reason why we talked about this hole in the roof, there's no way that an individual could fit through that hole in the roof. I had all of the cameras there, the news cameras there, and you saw for yourselves. So they started off lying. So we respected her decision. She had to do a job. She did it. Now it's time to do our job. Thank you.
Go ahead.
First of all, I want to say I do not agree with Kenworth's decision, because my son didn't have a hammer, just like there was no search warrant when they came to the house. These are lies to gawk up where the reason why they killed my son in my face. And Ken Worthy is legally just giving them, these police officers, the right to assassinate people. You can't go around assassinating these young men. These young men have families. Well, I mean, this is something against the race. I don't want to think that. But I mean, look at the picture here. You have young black men being killed by these police officers and literally getting away with it. My son was assassinated in my face. I will never forget that day.
Describe what you saw.
Hold on. See, that's where we got a problem now, because you keep getting different descriptions from Mr. Kellom as to what occurred. That was one of her big problems, that he made so many different statements. He was traumatized when this thing occurred. He may say something different today as to what he had thought he saw on that date and time. So he's not going to say any more versions of what he's already said. So don't ask him that.
That's right.
Kim Worthy basically said you were lying.
Basically, that's what she's saying, but he saw his son gunned down in front of him. 7 to 10 shots was fired. He doesn't know exactly how many times this officer shot, but he knew it was a lot. So to say that these inconsistent statements, that's not good. That's not good at all. So don't ask him again as to what he saw, because it's already on the record.
What do you want to say to Prosecutor Worthy to the fact that she says the evidence shows that he was shot upstairs and had the hammer and was coming at police?
I think the decision she made was wrong, and she needed to do her investigation a little more. Nothing she said was right. My son didn't have a hammer.
I think, like Mr. Mitchell said, you guys are asking questions that she said. We went over there. We looked at the ceiling. We got video of it. Now, unless there was some magic that happened, there was no hole in the ceiling. They said in defense and justifies of others, I heard that lie too many times, fighting police brutality, that the officer said they defend themselves and others. How in the hell do you defend yourself with 7 to 10 shots?
Well, the problem is she indicated that Officer Quinn shot one time and then paused. You have 3 or 4 of the officers in the same room, and you can't disarm an individual with a hammer after he's been shot one time? That doesn't make any sense.
Now, she did show pictures of this hole from the attic into the bedroom.
It wasn't there.
That was a hole in the closet where they ripped out the video equipment. The 247 came and saw the hole. You got video footage of that. That's where they ripped out the hole where the video camera was at. An individual couldn't fit through there.
What about the notion that there is no actual surveillance video, that the cameras were real time but not actually recording, and there is no surveillance video?
We've already indicated that there's no footage of that. That's correct. But what's comical is that the news media came with their cameras and they actually saw and will be witnesses when a civil case is filed, because you can see that no individual, small baby, couldn't have fit through that hole.
There was a lot of talk by Prosecutor Worthy about, the inconsistencies, how, they were diametrically opposed, what you said happened versus what he said happened. I mean, what was your reaction? I don't know if you were able to actually hear that because you were probably out
he
here,
didn't hear what she
haven't
said.
heard anything yet.
Yeah.
But I can say I know what happened. I'm looking at it. I have no reason to lie about nothing I saw.
Well, that's what I don't want him to give any more statements in relationship to as to what occurred or what didn't occur.
Right.
We know two things: that he didn't come through the roof, that he got shot 7 to 8 different times. We know that as a fact. And with a hammer, this individual must have been a real coward to shoot an individual 7 times with all he had was a hammer. And are you saying that after he shot him the first time, this isn't the movies, he still kept coming at him with the hammer to shoot him another 4 or 5 times? Is that what they're saying?
That is what
That's crazy. This is not the movies.
They're also saying he was shot 4 times.
It doesn't matter how many times he was shot. He was shot once, and then they said they paused to see whether or not it took effect. So what are these other officers doing to help disarm this person of a hammer? If he did have a hammer, let's say he had a doggone hammer. All you do is you get one swing if you're going to try to hit somebody with a hammer. All you get is one swing. After the hammer goes down, you're tackled. You're something. You don't have to kill him.
Isn't that easier said though? Since you
no, because I've been attacked with a hammer before.
Okay.
I was playing basketball. A guy came at me with a hammer. I didn't have a gun or a knife or anything. I moved out the way and then popped him in the mouth. And then we wrestled for the hammer. You don't have to kill someone.
And Amy, you're asking about the discrepancies. That's what trials are for. That's what trials are for. You always have inconsistencies, and you try that, and you find out what the facts are. You don't try it in a news conference.
I don't want to answer any more questions about what you saw.
No, we're actually just asking about your reaction to the situation.
Yeah, well, he didn't hear that. He didn't hear
but you did hear, obviously, that there's not going to be charges.
Oh, I'm very upset. That's upsetting. That was my son. I mean, it hurts. It hurts. I hope it didn't go that way, but like my attorney said, she done her job. So it's time.
We respect her decision. She had to do a job, and that's
Can't
fine.
do nothing but respect.
We got respect for the process.
So what happens now?
Yeah, what do
A
you
civil
do?
lawsuit. That's all that can happen now. Unless the feds are going to get involved, and that's not going to happen.
Well, I want to tell you from a community standpoint, we have an event, a large event planned for the 28th of this month, and we intend to push it higher than it's ever been. And I want to tell you right now, people in the community, and any elected official needs to know this. They're stopping me on the street asking about this. First time that's happened in years. So they need to be aware that it's not just the Kelloms, that a lot of people are concerned about this, and this community had better be concerned about it.
What's your reaction to when
was elected? She could be unelected.
What was your reaction to when she mentioned Black Lives Matter and tried to compare it to the other police-involved shootings across the country and said this wasn't one of those cases?
What? She made that decision? She can't make that decision. That's not up to her to make that decision that this was one of these cases. A jury could make that decision, but she can't.
Come on, we've had cases going back to Imam Lukman Amin Abdullah, to Aiyana Jones, to whatever, long before Black Lives Matter ever existed. Death is death. Killing is killing. Negligence is negligence. Mr. Mitchell is going to determine in the courtroom what the situation is. Now, you tell me that one life and one situation is different than the other? I mean, who are you? You can't tell him his life and his son's life is different than somebody in Ferguson? Give me a break.
Does Terrence have a son?
2.
He has a son and a daughter. You have a 2-year-old and you have a 2-month-old.
He never got a chance to
He
see
never got a chance to see
his
his
daughter
daughter born.
Tell us about your shirt.
Well, it says this is my son, Terrence, and this is his son, Terrence Jr. And it says whatever my baby said. And on the back it says, hands up, no hammer.
So the prosecutor said that the hammer was in his hand as he fell, and that the evidence shows it was there. How do you think that they could come to believe that?
Let me just correct you. You said the evidence shows that. There's no reflection except her assessment that the evidence shows that. You don't have a validation that that's the case. That's why you have civil litigation. That's why you have other matters, because they have questions of fact. That's what she said. There's
She
still
said
a que-
everyone in the room saw the hammer
Well,
in his hand.
she said it. She wasn't in the room. Was she there?
You have to understand, when they do investigations like this, they can come up with a decision and then get the evidence to corroborate that decision that they already made. So when they ask questions of the other officers, didn't you see a hammer in his hand versus whether or not there was a hammer? So you can come up with a decision and then corroborate or ask questions to corroborate that decision. So we don't know how these questions were asked. But when we get an opportunity to talk with these officers and depose them and ask them questions, it's a different thing.
So I wonder if you can speak right now, because the prosecutor did accuse you of lying about what happened. What do you want to say to her?
I just want to tell her that's her decision. They say opinions is like buttholes. Everybody got one. Sometimes they stink. So, hey, that was her decision to say that I was lying. I know what I know I'm not, and I know what I saw. And it'll be proven. That's all I can say.
When are we looking at the civil lawsuit, Mr. Mitchell?
I can't set a time date on that.
Well, I can say this. In terms of lying, that was a very strong statement to make, especially to grieving parents. It's insensitive. It's not valid. And the question is that if you feel that way, keep it to yourself and call them. But don't do that in the public arena. But I'll say right now, I believe Mitchell Quinn and them lied. Because you know why? Because after having done this for over about 30 years, I've heard the same lie over and over and over again. That's the same lie that they said in the Aiyana Jones case. And then we found out that they were lying. Found out that they were lying. They didn't see toys in the yard, right? But then ultimately found out that they did. It's just like Mr. Mitchell said. They can depose, they can ask you so that it sets up that they said that they actually did it. Ms. Worthy was not there. This is to the people who were there. They're the only ones that can say whether it was a lie or truth. Mr. Kellom and the people in that room. Prosecutor only knows what she got.
And she also pointed to the evidence that the
No,
evidence
they pointed to the evidence
claims
that
of the officers.
They pointed to the evidence that they did. There's been no independent investigation. There's been no
Well,
deposition.
the problem is the evidence. Let's start out with the first piece of evidence. The whole. I don't know if any of you were at the house itself to see the hole. Look at the video footage of the hole. There is no way that a person could fit through that hole. So let's start off with that. So the evidence, go look at it for yourself, and it makes no sense. So let's start off with that. And then when you say, I fear for my safety, that's what they all have to say when they shoot somebody. What else are they going to say?
She said there's no evidence that they broke through the front door, as Mr. Kellom claimed.
No one said they broke through the front door.
Yeah.
They pushed their way through. They pushed his way past him. There's nothing on the record to indicate that they broke through the front door.
Right.
But you are saying he did not come down through the ceiling. You're saying that?
I'm not saying that. The ceiling is saying that. I'm not saying that. The ceiling is. Because nobody can fit through it. All right?
Did we get your name, everything at the beginning?
Kerry Mitchell.
Can you spell that? Yeah.
Karrimitchell.
And you're the family attorney?
Yes, I am.
And what's your name, sir?
Ron Scott, I'm with the Detroit Coalition Against Police Brutality. I just wish when you guys do this, that you stop listening to just the police edition of the story. You know, a father knows whether his son was shot in front of his eyes. I mean, that's more valid than Mitchell Quinn not wanting to take his butt to jail.